If you've seen a lot in life, don't think you've seen it all. Some things we simply can't perceive from a human perspective. To capture truly incredible moments, you need a camera, or even better, a drone. You are on the TopFacts channel, and in today's 1-hour compilation, we've gathered a collection of incredible, mysterious, funny, and diverse videos shot with drones and regular cameras. I promise it will be very interesting. I wish you a good rest of this hour, and of course, enjoy watching. Know this, wherever you go, even to a mountain peak, we are all constantly being watched. Who? Aliens? Not only, but also the all-seeing eye. We're talking about Lake Akan in the Tibetan province of Qinghai. It is called the Eye of the Devil, not only because of its eerie colors, but also because of its composition. The water here is rich in sulfur, which colors the soil in heart-wrenching red and yellow hues. Tourists flock to it. Everyone wants to look down into the bubbling sulfur eye. But what if they are also being watched from the other side? Nature gives us mysteries that people have been trying to solve for centuries, leaving traces in myths and legends. One person was filming a pod of dolphins on the Russian coast with his drone when, upon reviewing the video at home, he noticed something strange. One of the creatures raised its arm forward. If I remember correctly, dolphins don't have such long fins. The most incredible assumption is what he captured was a mermaid swimming with the dolphins. But mermaids are beautiful. Through the treacherous and the next few stories will make you shudder. Witnesses in Alaska observed a strange and eerie sight in 2016. In a river near Fairbanks, an ice-covered object resembling the body of a prehistoric monster was drifting. People were puzzled. Could it be a huge sturgeon, a shark, or debris covered with snow and ice? In any case, nothing like this had ever been seen in the waters before. It seemed the huge body was somewhat sluggish or even lifeless, but it was definitely floating on its own. Could this be Alaska's answer to the Loch Ness Monster, or just a play of the river current? Everyone has read the story of the Headless Horseman. The chilling horror gripped everyone who saw him. Tell me, what made a person explore the deserted area of Chernobyl? Clearly a thirst for nerve-wracking spectacles, and they did not take long to find. The camera captured a strange animal resembling a moose. The body was large enough, but the head was missing. Is it possible that it survived some mutation or deformation that left its head pressed into the shoulders? But running without a head is completely impossible. And judging from the footage, the beast sensed its direction since it hid from the drone. Can anyone explain to me what we just saw? Ordinary animals can perform strange tricks. Sometimes they seem mystical to us, but in living nature, there is no mysticism. It's simply called a miracle. A school of fish swims in a circle. Want to know why? When a school of salmon gathers to make a long journey from the ocean to fresh water for spawning, they swim in circles before that. It's part of their special ritual, most likely a tactic to protect from predators. Hunting in a tight circle ring is difficult, and thus they perform a collective body. Nature has equipped animals with survival skills, and they have been tested for millennia. The Olympic Games are the most famous sports competitions since ancient times, and they are still held according to Greek traditions, but with a modern distinction. Now thousands of athletes from around the world participate, and it's one of the most spectacular events. The first modern Olympic Games was on April 6, 1896, and regularly, now every 4 years, there are Winter and Summer Olympic Games. The sacred ritual for athletes is lighting the fire in the stadium with a torch brought from Greece. The fire is transferred to a massive cauldron, and it burns until the end of the competitions. In 1992, the cauldron was lit in a unique way. Spanish archer Antonio Rebolo shot a flaming arrow, and it ignited the flame at the top. It was a very beautiful spectacle. And for the athlete, an enormous responsibility, even more than a penalty in football. When a group of people perform together, they can, for example, play in a large orchestra or an incredible composition on a stadium field. In April 2020, during a parade in the USA, a group from Ohio State performed a stunning show. As you see, they depicted the space race between America and Russia. The occasion for the performance was the 50th anniversary for the first man landing on the moon. The Ohio State Marching Band depicted rockets from Apollo 11 and a spaceship with an astronaut and the American flag. How can someone think so creatively and organize such a large number of people? But anyway, the first man in space was Yuri Gagarin, and there's no need to prove it with a show. You will feel much more uneasy if you see such a phenomenon in the sky. You might feel the need to repent for your sins. A crucifix floating in the sky will make even the most hardened atheist shudder, or it will make the most devout believers rejoice. Either way, we see how brightly this special effect shines with a television antenna conveniently in view. Somewhat eerie, isn't it? We know that clouds in the sky are arranged in layers and sometimes form vertical figures, but this cloud shines much brighter than usual. It is illuminating by the perfect sunlight. And again, our imagination fills in details, giving us this special meaning. We can admire the beautiful mountains in Japan, and an interesting phenomenon unfolded in the sky. Here, it looked like a UFO, and it seemed like a spaceship was disguising itself as a cloud. In fact, Mother Nature often plays tricks on us. This cloud in a halo of reflected sunlight shows its resemblance to an oyster shell or a flying saucer. Here we observe the free fall of an object whose purpose and origin we will not be able to decipher while watching this short video. But one thing is clear, it is an artificially created object with a light clearly visible inside. It rotates and falls from above. Maybe it's some kind of ammunition weapon. If we observe phenomenon involving large unidentified objects, why can't there be smaller ones, like spare parts? We know so little about the world and the universe that it's foolish to limit all possible versions of our modest knowledge. Everyone is used to the contrails that planes leave in the sky, and even the remnants of comets and meteors occasionally penetrate the atmosphere, trailing with a smoky tail. But what we see in this footage doesn't resemble earthly flying devices. And if it is a piece of large asteroid or UFO, then the matter takes a fantastic turn. A helicopter tries to chase the object, but the speeds are clearly mismatched. The object also doesn't look like a drone. What do you think it might be? If an object is unidentified and it flies, we call it a UFO. But if we're sure it's not a drone, parachute, or a known vehicle, then we can only assume that it's looking at something that is of extraterrestrial origin. The mysterious flat shape and curious style of movement of this object gives us reason to suspect that it has connections with aliens. It's time for romance from the fields. This farmer has nothing to do. He traces hearts on the field with hay trucks, not out of boredom, but this way that the sheep are trained to follow the food. Sheep have strong herd instinct, but they still need to be trained to enter their pens correctly and not crush each other over lunch. It looks very cute, but to get the result, the farmer spent several months. What we are seeing now is a rare sight, resembling a whimsical mosaic. What are these multicolored squares? The migration of an animal colony or drifting trash? In fact, these are rays. They moved in large groups for safety and in search of food. It turns out they act like sheep, deer, or salmon. They protect themselves with numbers, making it harder for predators to attack. During migration to warm waters, this helps preserve the population. Nature demonstrates its wisdom to us, and we perceive it as miracles. The Fibonacci spiral. This is what this mysterious phenomenon is called. A drone of the famous photographer Piet van den Bemde captured how a duo of humpback whales in the waters of Antarctica create a unique spiral pattern with the help of air plumes. They're geometrically perfect. If you inscribe the coils and squares and draw the figure, it corresponds to a pattern on a snail shell and the proportions of the Fibonacci formula. In this sequence, the squares make a perfect whole. Each subsequent number of the area is equal to the sum of two preceding it. Mother Nature shows us perfection in her creation, and our task is to understand that the world is built on harmony, and not to disrupt it. Why do whales draw on water? Do you know? I'll give you a hint. They form air columns that gather plankton into convenient rolls for eating. A calm night by the sea can present the most bizarre spectacle. Even those who had not had cocktails at the beach bar saw 2 moons in the sky. Naturally, some immediately talked about the end of the world, but few could explain that there was nothing to worry about. There are significant reasons behind the double moon phenomenon. Sometimes in the desert, mirages can visibly double or triple objects. This is one. But sometimes real players come into play. Sometimes planets like Venus or Jupiter can be close to the moon, and when lit by the sun glow, the fragments we see then appear to us as a twin of the moon. So you can just enjoy this rare sight. Many city dwellers would like to rest in the clouds, to go to the mountains or see unrealistically beautiful landscapes. Some residents of this metropolis in China indeed managed to see a city mirage. Such an illusion sometimes appears in the sky after a storm with rain and hail. The clouds mimic the outlines of tall buildings, and in the eyes of the eyewitnesses, it looks like real cities in the clouds. This mirage, called Fata Morgana, is a result of light refraction and erroneous reflection. An icy ridge in the sky stretches the object vertically, making it look like a castle wall or a cliff. Essentially, layers of air with ice crystals are like a giant mirror that works for the entire sky. Though ghostly, it is still beautiful. We now know that the city in the clouds is just a cloud mirage, but I don't think anyone can come up with an explanation for this story. Yes, ice crystals in the sky can create reflections of the tallest skyscrapers, but what about the people walking on the heavenly streets? Plus, there were lights flashing, like at a real intersection. Imagine seeing a parallel reality in the sky. I feel like that might drive me a little insane. An ocean filming enthusiast explored the Atlantic with a drone near Cape Cod when he suddenly noticed a dark figure between the underwater rocks. At first, he thought he had just found a seal with a fish in its mouth and almost lost interest, but suddenly noticed one oddity. The creature seemed to almost disappear under the waves, but the outline of its body turned out to be thinner than a seal's, and it seemed to have long limbs. The silhouette quite resembled a humanoid, but could it be an alien? Sadly, we might never know. What did you manage to see? Let us know in the comments below. Off the coast of Western Australia, a fisherman stumbled upon an epic sight: the remains of a humpback whale being eaten by a horde of sharks. The carcass was already incomplete and still huge, and seeing so many predators is quite exciting. The most remarkable and rare thing here is not that it's just one family feasting, but at least 3 different species of sharks. This certainly rarely happens, but I do realize one thing: how important these scary predators are to the ocean, and with the cleaning work that they do, no one else could be assigned to do it. The use of drones for search operations gives amazing results. Some are annoyed by their mosquito-like buzzing, but in such situations, they become rescuers, not toys. From a bird's eye view, you can literally see a needle in the haystack. For example, how do you like this incident? A drone scanned dense fields and stumbled upon an elderly man who had been missing for several days. He was stuck in the mud and desperately trying to get up, holding onto the bushes. As soon as the drone found him, the rescue team immediately got there and pulled the man out. Who knows how he got there and how much longer he would have lasted without help. This is why women live longer. Look where this man climbed. Yes, this man is actually sunbathing on top of a wind turbine at a height of about 80 meters. What drove him to go up there? Maybe he was avoiding society and wanted to stay out of sight, but even here, he was caught by drone camera. I'm going to reveal a secret. This is modern hermit Joseph Byron, a Benedictine monk who had been living in solitude on top of a windmill since 2006. In conditional solitude, drones still buzz around. This short video was enough to make dozens of people believers. The footage was taken by an unsuspecting person who noticed a winged creature majestically flying in the evening sky. Besides the large wings, the unclear silhouette, witnesses felt some divine presence. But the phenomenon was short-lived. The winged creature disappeared behind thick clouds. Believe in angels if you want, or believe in video editors. Now a duet performs. Residents in a remote town observed the flight of two strange creatures in broad daylight. They looked like angels dancing in a peculiar manner. The spectacle was as poetic as it was mystical. The nature of these movements were a little bit different than those of birds, and besides, there was clearly some semblance of a body between the wings. This entity in the sky looks like a humanoid traveler. It was noticed by an ordinary family who went for a walk in Colombia, but they didn't get too far when they came across this strange floating object in the sky and started filming it. When the zoom is increased, we see a distinctly humanoid figure with arms and legs freely hovering in the sky without a parachute. It was definitely not a piece of an airplane or a balloon, but a figure in something like a spacesuit. However, it seems hard to convince oneself of what is clearly visible, but hard to believe. Successful water landings of airplanes is rare. This small plane crashed into a lagoon somewhere in Micronesia, but all 47 people on board survived. They were lucky that a fisherman was nearby who rushed to help them and called his colleagues as they managed to save everyone together. Probably the fishermen didn't even think about how dangerous it was for them. They just did everything possible. So, in the most difficult circumstances, simple people can save your life. Some people love insane entertainment, and apparently there are many of them in Japan. This video shows a log riding festival, one of the most dangerous entertainments. It is held every 6 years, in the year of the monkey and of the year of the tiger, according to Eastern calendar. Traditionally, 16 massive logs are delivered to the temple, where they replace the columns, a symbolic construction that should end with a spontaneous descent. Although the festival has been held for 12,000 years, the faint-hearted should not participate. It has little in common with the Olympic Games. Another trick in the Japanese spirit, for those tired of football and tennis, they've come up with something even more interesting. Aerial samurai combat. Yes, it's already a reality. Attach a jetpack and off you go. The only question remains, is this video fake or not? Maybe you know something. Write to us in the comment. A ski resort implies snowy mountains and sparkling white slopes. Yes, alpine skiing is very popular, and as a sport, it was included in the Winter Olympics in 1924. Skiing used to be just a winter means of transportation for farmers and hunters, but now some enthusiasts don't agree to wait for snowfall. In this video, French adventurers decided to ski on autumn leaves in the forest. I hope they made sure there were enough leaves. I don't recommend this trick performing at random if you don't have extensive experience. This daredevil managed to escape from under a frozen lake using an axe. You might ask, how did he get trapped under the ice with an axe? But that's another question. Probably the man decided to experiment. Otherwise, why go into the ice? The video looks frightening because it's dangerous to stay under the icy water without air for a long time. But here we can see that the man managed to break a large enough hole from below and push his head through and breathe. Fortunately, the experiment ended successfully. But still, his goal is unclear. Every year, chimpanzees suffer from poachers. They are illegally caught and sold. But fortunately, they also have protectors. People and organizations dedicate to protection of wild animals. Dr. Jane Goodall devoted her career to protecting primates, and she has already saved many. This chimpanzee was named Wanda. She was found injured and nursed back to health. Eventually, they returned her back to her habitat. Wanda thanked her saviors and gave them long, tender hugs. So many emotions. I think I'm getting sentimental myself. Food delivery work is one of the most unpredictable professions. You never know who will open the door. In this story, we'll see the craziest experience of a female courier in Moscow. She delivered the pizza, and a monkey, decently dressed, came to get it. As if nothing unusual, the monkey paid and took the box. Apparently, it had done this before. The courier quickly left. The question still remains, was this monkey well trained by its owner, or did the whole family of monkeys order a pizza? Mexican black bears are now endangered. But this is not what made the author of the video so nervous. A woman was kayaking when she saw a couple of black bears. They were desperately climbing a steep cliff. She was afraid not of the attack, but of the bears falling from the heights. This happened in the USA in the Santa Elena Canyon area in Texas. The woman was filming the scene, and she couldn't help the animals. But we can only hope that they reached their goal safely. Dolphins are among the most intelligent animals on the planet. They have personalities and can communicate in their own language with each other. Look, this dolphin recognizes itself in the mirror. But now you'll be amazed at how smart they are. A family was traveling on a boat around Norway, and they were lucky enough to see a white dolphin. It approached them. The little girl was so excited by the encounter that she dropped her phone. It seemed that the joy was over. But no, their surprise was immense when a few minutes later, the white dolphin surfaced with the phone in its mouth. An incredible moment that gives one joy for a lifetime. Some quickly demolish, some quickly build. China is already known for its promptness. There are no long-term constructions, but the world appreciates the speed when, during the pandemic, China needed to urgently build hospitals with thousands of beds. This project was realized in just 5 days. China's response to the pandemic was so lightning fast that it saved thousands of lives. Isn't this worthy of a Guinness Book of World Records? Ships undergo crash tests. For example, in this video, the U.S. Navy ship Jackson is undergoing the so-called shock trial. Ships are tested for how well they withstand underwater explosions, how the hull and the equipment react to strong vibrations, as well as shock waves. Agree, military equipment is an insanely expensive pleasure, and these shock tests are mandatory. The event itself is not simple. You need to choose a safe place and suitable weather conditions. Jackson successfully passed the test and is now headed for service. We've all heard of rocket and satellite crashes. There are many disappointments in space exploration. However, the results of test flights have improved significantly over the years. SpaceX, a company founded in 2002 by former PayPal and Tesla shareholder Elon Musk to reduce the cost of space flights, significantly improved them over the years. Well, let's be honest, the company's goal is the colonization of Mars. The Starship SN-10 rocket is one of the company's most advanced projects. They create a reusable vehicle for transporting people to space and back. Yes, something like that taxi. The 9 previous versions also underwent tests, but never made a successful landing. They exploded either on takeoff or landing. And now we're witnessing a successful 10th attempt. This is not a video game. Yes, they achieved the incredible, landed the rocket on the same spot where it was launched. February 18, 2021 became a breakthrough in the exploration of Mars. A robotic rover launched by NASA on July 30, 2020 made a successful landing in the Jezero crater on the surface of the red planet. This structure, called Ingenuity, combines 2 vehicles, a rover and a small helicopter, and it was the first robot to reach another planet. The mission of the device was supposed to last 30 days and gather sensational data. Sofas are supposed to stay at home, not fly in the sky. But once in Turkey, a sofa decided to break the rules and was seen flying freely. This happened due to a powerful hurricane that hit the city. It's unknown where the soft furniture came from, but it did not make a hard landing, and luckily no one was hurt, except for the sofa's owner. It's unlikely that he could have held on to it. Do you believe that a palace can be built in one night? Maybe in fairy tales, but when a tree grows inside a car, no one can explain it. How do objects end up in the sky, land, and take root in this manner? All these people curiously examine the site, with a giant tree growing from inside a car. Sometimes trees grow even on the tops of other trees, and all they need is peace and time. But for a tree to grow to this size, it would need probably 40 to 50 years, and the car looks much newer. If the tree didn't appear there yesterday, then the marks of time on the car should also be noticeable, but it's as clean as it is new. If we assume that due to some incredible teleportation or a tornado, the car ended up on top of the tree, then this wouldn't be a tree but a sharp pole with a crown. Write to us in the comments about what you think. Sometimes nature presents us with puzzles at sunset. Unsuspecting locals were admiring the sky when they suddenly noticed something unnatural in the behavior of the clouds. People are generally inclined to take what happens in nature personally, and instead of enjoying the beautiful hues, they began to suspect that something was wrong. Why was there such a gap in the sky? And what were those rays? And what would happen next? Don't worry, it's just an illusion. The clouds and the setting sun decided to play a little trick on us. Sometimes you don't need to go to space to discover incredible things. Some might await you on the streets. Recycling plastic is a useful thing, but some enthusiasts approach it creatively. How do you like a whole castle built from thousands of plastic bottles? Anyone can donate their bottles for a continuation of the construction and for the benefit of nature conservation. Although I'm not a fan of such a style, I tell you it's much better than objectively seeing garbage. So smoothly from earthly creatures, we move on to species that have not been seen here. Aliens we saw in movies, or just computer graphics. Can you recognize an imposter or a real video? Such bipedal creatures were running through a forest in the USA, and a drone caught them from above. The duo would have gone unnoticed, but it was near Area 51, where unexplained things often happen. Who knows, maybe a couple teenagers decided to have fun with special effects, but the height and build of the runners makes you wonder, what if they really are aliens? A mysterious black ring in the sky was seen in different places. Some decided that the end of the world was coming, and the others cursed the nearest factories. But the cloud was in no hurry to dissolve, like smoke, or do anything evil. A dense ring, similar to acrid smoke, moved without mixing with the air. It felt as if someone in the underworld was smoking a hellish pipe and blew the rings upwards. Now, let's move on to the characters. How can a body resembling a human move vertically through the air without any movement? A mysterious object, challenging all the laws of gravity and even levitation. It flew across the sky over Glasgow. We don't want to start a discussion, but the similarity of this figure to a black monk is quite obvious. The long robe, even a hood. Did it seem the same to you? Believe me, everyone who observed the object firsthand and the commentators on the video online put forth the same assumptions. This strange figure definitely did not look like aviation equipment, and it hardly looked like an alien. Launching a drone, a group of teenagers hoped to get beautiful landscape shots, but they got something more interesting. A man was walking along a path, and it seemed like he was lost. But when they directed the drone closer, it turned out that the man was armed and not inclined to be filmed. He aimed at the drone, wondering if he could take it down. I think the kids got scared, but who acts like that? Correct, bandits on the run. Technology is improving, but the world remains old. A young dog wandered into a swampy area on the coast and refused to return. No matter how much the owners and enthusiasts tried to lure it out, the animal was scared. After 2 days, the situation became critical. A high tide was approaching, and the chances of saving the dog were decreasing. Then the rescuers resorted to another strategy. They used a high-tech drone and tied a traditional sausage to the rope. The cartoon method worked 100%. The dog, tired of hunger and stress, simply followed his instincts. It is elementary, Watson. Try refusing fresh sausage after a sleepless night and a hungry day. And here, the drone is carrying something heavier than a sausage. People sometimes conduct experiments without thinking of possible consequences. What if something goes wrong? For example, this guy came up with an unusual plan to walk his dog. He hooked it to a drone. He wanted to have fun, but didn't think about how the dog would feel. His plans for harmless fun failed, and although the dog desperately resisted, the drone lifted it into the air. But then, something unforeseen happened. It stopped obeying the owner. No matter how he tried to return it, the dog flew into the wind. Nothing was working. The controller was failing. The worst thing is that this video has no ending. We can only hope that Toto landed safely. Otherwise, why would the unlucky owner of the drone and the dog share this footage with the world? Not only dogs are annoyed by drones, crocodiles also find them insects. Keep this in mind if you plan on visiting one. This video proves that crocodiles can jump decently. This little guy didn't manage to grab the drone, but the attempt is admirable. And this crocodile was underestimated by the drone owner and paid the price. The dance of the demonic manhole cover is something more than just movement and inertia, although I've never seen it before. The theme is as old as the world, and we're all told in childhood to avoid the manhole cover and to not step on the closed ones. This manhole cover flails as if possessed. Those who recorded the incident on camera enjoyed the spectacle for several minutes. Cappadocia in Turkey is very popular among tourists. It's a unique place with cave dwellings and a canyon with rock cones. Every year, more than 500,000 people come here to see the wonderful view of hot air balloons. The landscape itself with many balloons is stunningly beautiful, especially at dawn. People don't mind paying $300 for a flight. This landscape was formed by nature over 60 million years ago, and it's a unique place on Earth. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, protected by some troglodyte caves that have been converted into hotels, and you can stay there comfortably. The best time for a flight is from April to November, when the sky is filled with hundreds of colorful balloons. You can watch animals endlessly, but sometimes they behave frighteningly. If you have arachnophobia, you better skip this story. It seems like the apocalypse started with an invasion of thousands of spiders. In reality, they were trying to escape from the high tide in Australia and rushed to occupy coastal houses. This person, whose house was covered by a swarm of spiders, admitted that he wasn't too worried. He grew up in a country full of dangerous and unattractive animals. But seriously, mass migration in the animal world warns people of impending cataclysms. The peculiar structure of this fish allows it to stay out of the water for a long time. It can live quite well on land if there's food. The thing is, it breathes with lungs, like all terrestrial animals. It also has gills, and it can obtain oxygen in several ways. Scientists have long been interested in these unusual abilities and are thinking about how to apply them in medicine and space exploration. Crows can be found everywhere on Earth. They live in cities, forests, and beaches, and even garage dumps. We're going to show you how intelligent birds they can be. They have the largest brain size among birds. It's proven that they can recognize faces, and scientists claim that crows have the intelligence of a 7-year-old child. This episode was published on the BBC channel in 2014. Watch how a smart crow handles a difficult task using a stick. It figured out that it needed a longer stick to get the stones and used hints. It's no coincidence that the crow is often a character in fairy tales that gives clever solutions. If a crow were electrocuted, it might look the same, but it is unlikely that it would remain floating in the air. People were also frozen skeptically, watching the strange phenomenon in the air. There hung either a loofah or a fallen angel, or the photographer was so terrified that he couldn't even take a normal video. There's a word, entity, used to describe something that cannot be classified as human or animal, but emits some kind of energy. Villagers in Brazil shared this video hoping to get some answers, but ended up with even more questions. No one could understand what was sitting on the fence, a head with horns on a bird-like creature caught in a net. If something like that appeared in my yard, I'm definitely calling off of work. This video also puzzled many people on the internet. No matter how you look at it, what do we see? Some medieval creature desperately climbing up and down the wall. Perhaps this is where the saying "drunk to the point of seeing demons" applies. But now it's time for a smile. Our brain tends to dramatize everything. Turn the device and we'll see that the video shows a duck peacefully swimming in the water. A simple camera trick. Ha, see? Everything isn't so terrible. If you want to witness an anomalous phenomenon, there's no need to study other planets. Sometimes it's enough to look at the sky, and it will amaze. A strange semi-transparent object was spotted by a group of people, and although they tried to capture it on a stable video, it constantly moved as if trying to escape. The outlines also changed. It was impossible to evaluate the structure, but everyone had the same feeling. People could not shake the sensation that they were observing an object of extraterrestrial origin. In July 2021, the Gulf of Mexico hit the headlines, and for a reason. It became the hottest, or rather, burning spot in the world. Yes, the ocean caught fire. This video gathered millions of viewers because no one could imagine such a turn of events like this even in a disaster movie. At a depth of 256 feet, an underwater gas pipeline burst, so we can see the orange flames on the ocean's surface. The platform and underwater pipeline belonged to the Mexican oil company Pemex. Such an incident is classified as a disaster, not just a major fire. The situation was brought under control, and there were no human casualties. Of course, this giant heater harmed marine life. The mouth of the fire resembled molten lava, and the site itself looked like a portal to hell. The thought that humans are not alone in the universe has crossed the mind of each of us. For many, what is captured in this video can serve as an answer to the question. A group of friends went out for a walk, and suddenly, their attention was drawn to this object. It looked like an alien ship. It is strange to assume that airships from the early 20th century are back in the air, but the speed of this object disproves that theory. I must admit that this is the clearest evidence I have ever seen. It could be a trick, but one can only guess. Residents of Holland captured something completely mesmerizing. A strange long object with some kind of appendages floating in the foggy sky. Since there were no explanations in the news or on the internet, people were forced to interpret themselves. A flying object cannot hover motionless. A cloud does not have such a distinct shape, and other popular explanations have yet to be found, except to attribute this to miracles or aliens. The night sky in Brazil was illuminated by a strange device. People noticed it brightly glowing and a giant trailhead of light behind it. Due to a lack of knowledge about cosmic processes, they wondered if it could have been a meteor shower. However, when information from the eyewitnesses began to accumulate, it turned out that a similar object was seen in another area, and it also hung motionless above. It looks like someone was exploring Brazil from the sky. Purple lights in the twilight sky. This is not a reflection of a chandelier in a window, and not a fake. Now, you might be able to see yourself. This thing really hung in the air, and the lighting is so bright that it's a bit irritating. There's no tower or mast next to them. They are by themselves. After these shots, I personally have come to terms with the idea that aliens exist and they are in front of us. What this observer captured leaves no doubt that we are witnessing something extraordinary. Not clouds, not some glitch, but the most shocking reality. A biker went out for a ride with his children, but the sky was gloomy, and right above them hung something terrifying. Powerful stationary lights emitting electrical discharges. They heard the crackle of electricity and did not know what to think. Maybe an alien invasion. If the light came from part of the clouds as a reflection of a distant storm, then it would flicker like heat lightning, not to shine continuously. In general, the stunned eyewitnesses gave us a chance to stand in silent amazement as well. Convincing to say the least. Remember the movie Back to the Future, where the DeLorean disappears and moves to another time? A drone tried to track the speed of a car, but it suddenly turned into a cloud of dust and disappeared from view. How is this possible if it's not a movie? I agree, it looks like computer graphics or an edited video. But if not, could teleportation be possible? A drone can be both a helper and violator of someone else's airspace. The Japanese police came up with an effective method to combat flying offenders. In a no-fly zone, the drone gets caught in a net, kind of like an iron butterfly, and its owner can be fined for unauthorized filming. In the year 1980, a plane belonging to the famous rich man Pablo Escobar, the leader of the Medellin cartel, crashed in the waters near Norman's Cay in the Bahamas. The plane has been lying there since then and even became a popular diving spot, and the view from above was captured by a tourist who wanted to explore the vessel without diving. Over the long years, the plane's interior has disintegrated, turning it into an empty shell, so we can see this transparent outline. This drone owner decided to launch it over Farmington Canyon in northern Utah and initially did not pay much attention while some technical debris flickered in the frame. However, upon closer inspection, he was greatly puzzled by the objects flying there, clearly foreign to the wild of nature. The silvery glinting plate could either be a tool or a weapon. It moved too fast for debris to blow by the wind. Maybe it was another drone, or maybe something more advanced. In a secluded part of California, during a routine review of drone footage over fields and farms, the operator noticed an anomalous square-shaped object in the sky. It smoothly floated under the clouds, and it didn't look like either a plane towing a banner or a drone. The internet quickly filled the discussions about the mysterious square, and several people noticed that it could be a US military novelty, some experimental flying device or drone. The question remains open. If you've seen something similar, let us know in the comments. A resident of the town of Northern Charlotte in California decided to test his drone on the street, and in the end, he captured multicolored flashes in the air. It was like a huge garland which hung there, spinning. After carefully reviewing the footage, the guy noticed several lights shining like headlights. He posted the video online, but he was literally bombarded with messages about similar observations. So, what do you think it is? Someone's machines or alien visits? This UFO sighting was filmed by a drone of an enthusiast from Utah. Everything happened quickly, very quickly. If you didn't notice anything, let us repeat it more slowly. The silver sphere looks like an incredibly fast UFO, and if they fly silently, how many more visits have we missed? In November 2023, an American military pilot noticed several dozen mysterious glowing objects in the sky. At that moment, they were certainly flying over the South China Sea. The chains of mysterious UFOs were arranged in a certain order, as if it were a flotilla of alien ships. The video went viral and sparked debates. Some accused the pilot of falsification, while others vehemently argued that he had obtained direct proof of extraterrestrial life. An excavator is not a boat, but apparently it manages to swim as well as any yacht. I wonder why it ended up here and what it plans to do. Now let's turn to technological processes. There's a lot of interesting stuff here too. Do you think this is computer graphics or real gemstone cutting? It's hard to believe, but the stone is real, though it looks like an element from Minecraft. Such processing can start a new trend in the jewelry industry. If similar stones adorn a necklace, it will have an impact like a lightning strike. Bicycles are so popular in the Netherlands that it seems that there are more bikes than people. In 2016, the Dutch discovered a video online where a bike was riding itself without a rider, like a driverless car. People were inspired by the idea, but it turned out to be a successful prank, and a follow-up story revealed the trick. The bike was pulled by wires, and then special effects were added. But there's some truth in every joke. Since there are self-driving cars, driverless bikes are not too far off. Traffic jams is one of the worst events that can ruin your day. But I can assure you all your options are not that bad. What we see here is a real hell for motorists. It happened when people in China were returning from vacation and trying to enter Beijing. You ask, did the entire population of the city get a vacation on the same date? This day became the longest traffic jam the world had ever seen. People were trapped for 3 days just to travel 62 miles. The traffic jam lasted 12 days on this section and made 3 years' profit for small traders. According to authorities, the cause of this road nightmare was a sharp increase in the number of trucks entering Beijing. Maybe it's better to go by train. Residents of megacities constantly complain about transportation fatigue. But what about you saying after watching this story about street traffic in the capital of Ethiopia? Addis Ababa is a large city, but it's a bit chaotic. However, doesn't it bother you that everyone on this intersection is somehow miraculously moving? We could not find a single traffic light. Apparently, local drivers have the innate ability to negotiate from a distance. Just imagine the residents of Moscow or New York trying to live like this for just an hour. I don't know which is more in Amsterdam, boats or bikes. Water transportation here is also very popular. Every 5 years, the boat parade is held here. Sail Amsterdam. It was first held in 1975 in honor of the city's 700th anniversary. And since then, millions of people from all over the world come to see diverse boats and ships. To give an idea of what this event looked like, in 2015, a local YouTube channel made a slow-motion video of the water traffic. Everything looks no less chaotic than the African intersections. If you love surfing but are afraid of getting hurt by coral, fighting with the locals, or meeting sharks, then head to South Korea. The Wave Garden Company built the largest water park for surfers. It can recreate 20 different types of waves from 20 inches to 6.5 feet. Practice tricks with turns and passing in the tube. Plus, the surf park guarantees crystal clear and hygienically safe water. They used advanced purification and filtration technology. What do you say? Would you be excited for this? The next heroes of captivating stories are people. When a police officer asked you to show your driver's license, would it occur to you to offer him a donut instead? Especially if you were stopped for speeding. The driver in this video was searching for a document for a long time, and the donut was apparently in his way, so he decided to give it to the policeman. There's a stereotype that all police officers love donuts, just like kids love candy, and it seems in this case, it was true. Only I doubt that the donut would pass for a license. Most likely, there was no violation and the documents were in order. Many dogs would dream of learning how to drive, but cats prefer to ride. Why fiddle with handles if you can just lie comfortably on the dashboard? The owner says that the cat named Rory loves car rides, immediately taking her favorite spot. Maybe she likes watching the clouds pass by. Such behavior is quite unusual for a domestic cat, so no wonder why this video went viral. Drones can be very useful, but there are unfortunate cases when they scare to death those who see them for the first time. A resident of an African village knew nothing about drones until one flew to her house. Naturally, she perceived it as a global evil. Imagine if a little green man with an evil expression appeared to you. She didn't even have a smartphone. The poor woman's hysteria was growing. She apparently tried to drive the demon away with her only available method, prayers and spells. Not even a mop to defend herself. The drone owner enjoyed his prank, but as we know, the world is round. And who knows, maybe this woman was not cosmically savvy, but hopefully the drone was not cursed with some kind of voodoo. Young people launched the drone over an empty field, and their attention was drawn to a dark spot. Upon closer examination, it turned out to be a trio of people in black robes, clearly performing something mystical or a sinister ritual. Apparently, they were chanting spells and started the circle. In a strong wind, this silly dance looked scary. Were they summoning a spirit or performing some act of curse? Once the sorcerers were discovered, one of them decided to use his superpowers to pull the drone and neutralize it. But the frightened operator was quicker and immediately took the device away. The authors of the video discussed what happened, and they decided that these were so-called Illuminati members. Their presence in the field did not bode well, but maybe they were bluffing. Several years ago, footage from a drone appeared on YouTube, showing a man walking along the edge of the road. So, what is interesting, you ask? A few seconds later, the man started running and then disappeared. How can this be explained? Did he teleport to another dimension? Of course, viewers debated. Some argued the video was edited, while others stood by the side of the fantastic experience. They claimed that the man could have been a time traveler. Do you believe that he ran and jumped into another era? A drone is not a cheap pleasure and can bring a lot of benefits as much as harm. For example, farmers don't like invasions of their land and don't stand on ceremony with uninvited guests. Trespassing on private property is punishable by anything available, and this time, the drone was unlucky. Its last footage was of the farmer's angry outbursts. What if he was growing something illegal in his field? This sinister clown was trying to carve something into sand, but when he noticed the drone overhead, he decided to wait it out. Realizing it wouldn't go away, the clown went on to attack. He tried to knock down the drone. The gadget dodged more deftly, but the story doesn't end here. The clown suddenly chased a random passerby who was wandering along the beach, thinking maybe he had launched the drone. Although we can see that the guy was no slouch and put up a decent resistance. I can tell you that this is quite a confusing story. I just wonder what the clown was looking for. Inca gold? One stormy evening, the sky over Singapore was taken over by thunderclouds. They burst with terrifying lightning and thunder, but that was not all the show that they brought with them. The final preparation amazed the onlookers. After the storm, a black shadow hung in the sky, resembling a serpent-like dragon. We would take it as a bad omen, but in the East, the dragon is very revered, and its appearance promises wealth and good luck. Always try to think positively and don't take what you see in the sky too close to heart. Unless, of course, it's a spaceship with green little men waving their three-fingered long hands energetically at you. On his way home, a man looked at the sky and shuddered. There was something ominous, resembling a giant creature with wings spread menacingly. He stopped and filmed the video to prove it wasn't a fantasy. Scientists explain this as a periodic illusion. It sounds fancy, but when a cloud looks like a sheep or a mushroom, this particular feature is the psyche at work. The magical option of our mind picking patterns at random. Probably the man recently watched a Dracula movie, and this pattern remained fresh in his imagination. Although if we asked 10 people, probably 9 of them would say it looks like a dragon, and maybe only 1 will doubt. Maybe that one is you? An inexplicable formation in the sky puzzled everyone who looked up. It looks like a web with a loop or a ghost of a kite. The black entity slowly unfurled in the clear sky and seemed not to move anywhere. If it was a piece of fishing or a mosquito net, why was it not blown away in the wind? If it was a stream of smoke, why did the shape not change? Its mere presence was enough to puzzle the onlookers for a long time. Probably many of them perceived it as a bad omen of the day. That is all for today, and I hope you enjoyed these most incredible moments that were lucky enough to be captured on camera. If you liked it and want to see something similar or the next part, then write any comment to promote this video. And you can even write the word rocket so we know that you watched this video to the very end. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you on the newest episode of the Top Facts channel.